What's going on, guys? This is Dave, aka Dynasty Dorks, and this is the SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and presented to you as always by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100, and get a $100 free bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by the SGPN store and their big Cyber Monday sale. 20% off everything in the store, one day only. This is Monday using code CYBER, capital CYBER at store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com. What's going on, man? We have Monday night. We have Pittsburgh versus the Colts. We had a very, very interesting Sunday, and the Carolina Panthers absolutely took it to Russell Wilson and Denver Broncos.
Oh, Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold, he showed us that he's better than Baker Mayfield. And apparently he's better than Russell Wilson, too. Carson Wentz has not played in 4 weeks, and he still has more touchdowns than Russell Wilson, who only has 7 touchdowns on the year.
Tell me you saw the bathroom graph chart on Twitter.
I did not.
So there's a graph on Twitter going around with the number of bathrooms that Russell Wilson has in his house versus week by week, the total number of touchdowns that he has, and he still hasn't reached that bathroom curve yet.
Wow. Yeah. It's ugly. And like they were talking about it today, like his contract hasn't even started. He's still on his old contract. That $40 million extension starts next year. So they have $107 million in dead cap to move off. And Seattle, who was tanking, got their tails whooped by the U.S. Open on Twitter, and they're playoff bound. They have Russell Wilson's Denver Broncos first round pick, which is now the number 4 overall pick. The Panthers winning moved them from 2 to 5. And the Lions have the number 3 pick from the Matthew Stafford deal 2 years ago. So apparently selling quarterbacks to these late first round picks, look around your leagues and say, hey, give me that your team is so good, Brad. You can just give me that 2024 first. And then when Brad stinks next year, I'm going to be loving it. And so that's what's going on right now. Like Seattle Seahawks fans are just laughing in the face of Broncos.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is not good. I mean, it's good for Seattle fans. It's good for the Seattle organization. It's not so much good for Broncos fans right now.
So the number 1 overall pick is the Houston Texans. They have a 2-game lead. Then it's a tie. It goes down to strength of schedule, things like that. You have the Bears at the 2nd spot with their own pick. Then you have the Lions with the Rams pick. Then you have the Seattle with the Broncos pick, and then number 5 is Carolina. So you have to think that Bryce Young and CJ Stroud go in there at some point. Do you think that Seattle sticks it out with Geno Smith at the 3 spot if the Bears cannot trade out and they don't draft a quarterback? They go, let's say they got a receiver or get some other get some offensive line help for Justin Fields. They're sitting there at 3. Stroud or Young is going to be available. Do they go and take them, tag Geno? Do they let Geno walk? What do they do?
No, I think they find the highest bidder to take that pick. There's all the rumblings about them re-signing Geno Smith and wanting to work a deal with him. There's no reason not to. He's played great inside of that system right now. They're winning football games. Their defense is solid. Kenneth Walker looked good. I don't know that there's a lot you would want to do to change that right now. And if you can turn around and sign Geno to a team-friendly 3-year, quarterback deal, you sell that pick to the highest bidder, move back into the first round, add some draft capital, and you're in pretty good shape for the foreseeable future. So I think that's one of the better moves for Seattle to make personally, is to look at moving back and re-sign Geno.
And what's going to be ironic is Carolina's going to have to trade up to get that pick that they just won away yesterday.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting. And then the Broncos have Russell Wilson. The Packers are slowly sneaking into the top 5 of the draft. The Raiders are up there. There's still a lot of games to be played. The Steelers and the Colts might shake some things up, but it's pretty interesting out there. But again, we're going to talk about tight ends today. So Dynasty Tight End Rankings. We're also going to talk about the 2023 RB free agents. We talked a little bit about it on our RB ranking show, talked about free agency earlier, but we've had Tony Pollard go off, Josh Jacobs go off. We got a lot of stuff to talk about with the RBs, so we're going to try to get to that as well. We're at least going to give you our top 12 tight end rankings as well as a few of the other guys. But first, we're going to check in with the sponsors. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, let's get it. And if you're anything like I was this weekend, I was in one of these live states, the state of New York, and I was ready to win some money with WynnBET. So if you're ready to win and boost your odds, WynnBET is now live in a multitude of states, including Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, Virginia, and as I just stated, New York as well. We are bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting and casino play. They provide exclusive rewards right at your fingertips with Wynn Rewards on WynnBET. If you're looking to get involved in same-game parlays, which is my jam, thank you, Michael Carter, for getting hurt and screwing me with the line being at 2.5 and only getting 2. But WynnBET is your home to build your own betting and let you customize that parlay to make it whatever it is you want. They have great promos. Their odds are good. Payouts are happening right now as we speak at WynnBET. And WynnBET also has what you need to win. So if you're ready to play, sign up today to receive our special offer of bet $100 and win $100. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET so that they know we sent you. Again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. The offer is subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you're someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. And we also have our great Cyber Monday sale. Again, as Dave mentioned earlier, it is 20% off everything in that SGPN merch store if you use our promo code CYBER, C-Y-B-E-R, CYBER. So again, go to store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com. It's one day only. Today, you only got a few hours left. And make sure you mention, look, I've got my SGPN hat. I've got a couple Sports Gambling Podcast shirts that I happen to wear at the casino where I watched the game at my in-laws this weekend. I have a nice heavy coffee mug. There's so many items in there to fit whatever it is you're looking for. So make sure you go check it out. Mention it to a friend. Hey, man, I really like this Sports Gambling Podcast stuff. Go check it out. Again, that's store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Code word CYBER for 20% off.
Let's go into the tight end rankings. And so the question I threw out on Reddit was, I shouldn't have said, are we? Because I was never drafting Kyle Pitts as the number one tight end. But the question to everyone, is he the tight end one? And neither of us have him as the tight end one. Our consensus tight end one is Mark Andrews. I have him at 1. You also have him at 1. Brad, why is Mark Andrews the tight end one?
It's contract. It's the fact that he's done it multiple years in a row. He's on a team that doesn't really have an alpha wide receiver or a team that throws to the running back, which is historically kind of that that bullet to keep the tight end from really going off. He's the number one option in his offense. He checks all of those blocks. And this is a guy who's 26 years old. He's still crazy young. So to me, it's a smash. There's nobody even close to Mark Andrews being the number one tight end off the board right now.
Yeah, I believe he just turned 27. For me, that's the same answers. He's done it before. And, when you look at some of the other guys, and we'll talk more, about Kyle Pitts specifically, but when I look at him, it's kind of, the Goldilocks situation. You got these younger tight ends that are coming up and they're not there yet. And you got Travis Kelce. He's the best, but he's older. And you're only going to get 1 or 2 years. And again, I do my rankings really based off of trade value. And I feel like Mark Andrews is going to give me the most trade value. And that's why he is my tight end 1. Our consensus tight end 2 is Kyle Pitts. And that's not just Brad and myself. That also is Adam. Make sure you follow Adam Pelletier. You got Brad, you got Justin and Emerson, Dynasty Analyst, and SGPN Bruni. So Kyle Pitts is the number 2. You're the lowest. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, for me, it's just the volatility of the Atlanta Falcons. It would not surprise me if that coaching staff changes, the quarterback situation changes, the running back situation changes. They've got another top 10 draft pick in Drake London there, so there's no guarantee he's the number 1 target on his team right now. So it's just, I want to see that situation clarify a little bit. Look, he's number 4. It's not like I've got him down at number 10 below some of these other guys. The couple guys that I have ahead of him really seem like they're solidified in their situations right now. We've seen them produce in the past, and I need to see it from him before I can put him above some of these other guys right now.
Yeah, and the guy in the comments is going to say, well, he's 22 years old and he's going to be, in the league for 15 more years. And we don't know that. We don't. Like, we want to predict that these guys are going to be good forever. Injuries happen. He narrowly escaped a big injury the other day.
Yep.
And, he's not like, he is a unicorn, but he still is developing as a tight end. And the situation definitely sucks. But, you had last year, he had a lot of yards and no touchdowns. This year, he did have that 1 touchdown that was called back. He's got more touchdown production, more red zone usage, but the completions, the targets, and the air yards are not there, and the receptions and the yardage aren't there. And for me, I look at Dynasty in 2 to 3 year windows, and there's no way that Kyle Pitts is going to catch Mark Andrews in the next 3 years. The reason I have him above Kelce is Kelce might not be in the league in 3 years. I mean, he's 34 or 33. So he'll be 36 at that point. And that's hoping he can go the next 3 years healthy. So, if you have Kelce, you're probably going to keep him over Pitts because you're going to get 2 years of elite production. You're fine with it. But for me, I have Kelce, and I know that I cannot get the same trade value for Kelce that I can Kyle Pitts because I've thrown him on the trade block. And people looked at me like, well, what are you going to do with 34 tight? Okay, I'll keep him. That's fine. But I'm not going to sell Kelce for, a second or, a late first round pick. And I got to give you Kelce in third. Like, no, I want good value for him. And people are charging a lot more for Pitts. And that's why Pitts is my number 2. Number 3, Travis Kelce. You have him at number 5. Why do you hate Travis Kelce?
Yeah, it's really the thing that I've learned over the years is if you hold these guys too long, even the minor injury will absolutely plummet their value, right? Think about your Michael Thomas's
Cooper Kupp.
at the peak, Cooper Kupp, anybody, Devontae Adams right now. He's, the number 3 redraft wide receiver. He's 30 years old on a new team. If he has an injury, let's say, knock on wood, that takes him out the next 4 weeks, right? Now he's an injury-prone wide receiver that's going into his age 32 season on a new team. Like, there's so many narratives that people will throw at you. It plummets their value, whether it's fair or not. That's just what it is. And that's where I'm at with Travis Kelce right now. With his age, I don't disagree with anything you said. He's got 2 or 3 more years of elite number 1 overall tight end production. I get it. All it's going to take is one injury to completely plummet your value where you cannot sell him. And then he's going to end up either dying on your team or you're going to be getting pennies on the dollar for him. So I'm looking to move. What I looked at is who would I be willing to move Travis Kelce for straight up right now? I would do it for Mark Andrews, obviously. I would do it for Kyle Pitts. I would do it for TJ Hockenson. I would do it for George Kittle. And most of those guys in leagues, you could get something, except for Pitts probably, or Andrews, you could get Hockenson plus for Kelce. You could get Kittle plus for Kelce. You could get Goddard plus for Kelce right now, or vice versa, selling Kelce. And I'm okay making that move right now where, we've talked about this before, where maybe it looks like you're getting the raw end of the deal right now, but in a year or 2 years, it doesn't look like that anymore. So you're muted, bud.
The next guy on the list is TJ Hockenson. I got TJ Hockenson at 5. He is our 4. You have him at 3. So you got TJ Hockenson, the highest of the list. And, I love some Kirk Cousins. And we talked about how we thought it'd be good for Hockenson. And we thought it'd be better for Kirk Cousins, at least for this year. But the team is obviously hyper-focused on getting TJ Hockenson involved. And so if I were to, I did my rankings before, you can see I did my rankings on the 25th before Thanksgiving, seeing it a couple weeks in a row, I would move him above Kittle just because of the age. I would still keep him, behind the other guys, but I would move him up to my 4 and not at my 5.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I just look at it. He's young. He's a player that can play every single down at the tight end position because he can block as well, right? So he's a blocker. He's a great all-around tight end, and I love that about him. I've been super high on him ever since he came out of college, and I think it's going to continue to be the case even when they decide in a couple years to move away from Kirk Cousins. He's still going to be a focal point of that offense with Justin Jefferson, and I think he's a smash for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and there's really not much to dislike here. You have the targets, and Thielen's getting older. Osborne is not really a threat. It's him and Jefferson, and whether it's Cousins or the next guy, like it's a good situation. And they invested a lot in him. And the fact that they're using him early, it really shows. Like, I like when you see that the coach and the GM are in lockstep. Like, when you see these guys get drafted, and you're like, why are you drafting Kyle Pitts and Drake London at 4 and at 8 and then not throwing them the ball? It's like the coach and the GM are not on the same team.
Yep.
And so then you see this where it's like the GM went and bought a nice shiny new toy, and the coach is like, I'm unwrapping it and I'm playing with it on Christmas Day. Like, I'm not waiting. Like, what Hawkinson's got 8+ targets since the trade.
He's killing it right now.
He's killing it. And and we talked about it on the show. Kirk Cousins, he likes tight ends and he cannot lie. Kirk Cousins has targeted tight ends his entire career. Yep. And, it goes back to his Washington days. He would have targeted Irv Smith if he could. Irv Smith just couldn't stay on the field. He made Tyler Conklin, I think, got him paid.
Yep.
I mean, it's no surprise, and it's good to see for Hockenson, who's had a rough career. I thought the interesting quote after the trade was, "I can't wait to actually talk about winning." On an interdivisional trade, man.
Yeah, poor guy.
Which, Detroit was winning for a little bit. And then our next guy on the list is Mr. George Kittle, number 5 in our rankings, number 1 in my heart. George Kittle is absolutely one of the most fun players to cheer for, and it's great to see him healthy. He was in the luchador mask the other day. He's just looking – he's just a blast. He's got a future WWE career. You have him all the way at number 2.
I do. And I even adjusted my rankings today, and I can't do it. This dude's a tight end 6 and missed the first 2 games of the year. Like, and he's tight end 6. If you add his average points per game, he's the tight end 2. If you just assume he's at that average for those first 2 games, he is a favorite of Jimmy Garoppolo right now. And that hasn't really changed since CMC's been there. I know this week was a downer week, but they got out in front of New Orleans, and they didn't need to go out and sling the rock 40 times, right? It's just not what they needed to do. They shut out New Orleans this week. I don't think they scored a point, did they? The Saints?
No.
So I mean,
they did, but the refs took it away from Chris.
Right. So it's just one of those situations where, yeah, it's going to happen with the way that San Francisco plays, but he's the man. It's like you said, I don't think I can get past what I see on the field from him. This dude blocks like no other tight end in the game. Look, Travis Kelce can block. He is not George Kittle in the blocking game. This dude is a monster. I love everything about his game. I know we had some health concerns early on. He missed those first couple games, but he's come back very strong since. And I think that's going to continue to be the case with the San Francisco 49ers. Even with Christian McCaffrey there and Debo and Ayuk, I still think he gets enough volume and is explosive enough with the ball that he doesn't need 11 targets a game or 12 targets a game to give you a big week. So I probably admittedly have him a little high. I get that. I can't get past what I'm seeing from him this season.
So here's my argument, and I'm going to use your own argument against you here. If Kittle gets injured again, his value is just going to tank.
Yeah, you're probably right.
He's 29 going on 30. He's got a history of injuries, and he's got a history of turning into a blocker. Like, they get one injury to the offensive line, and he's back to offensive line duty. It's like being good at football is an issue. Like, these other guys are like, listen, you can't just go run routes. They're like, no, George, you get on the line. And he loves it.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
like,
he does.
Okay.
He eats it up, man.
I don't care. And, he pancaked a guy, and the guy was like, oh, man, I tripped. He's like, no, man, that was all me. That was all me.
Because I made you trip.
Yeah. And so he's, but his reckless style of play does make him, more injury, risky. And so that's where I have him. I have him at 6, so I don't have him, tanked or anything like that. But it's a combination of age, injuries, and, you said he's the number 6 right now, and he's the number 2 points average, but he's still the number 6. I have him on my team, and I know how it felt the first couple weeks, and I remember getting those BS offers.
Oh, I was trying to get him hard.
Shout out to the guy that sent me Daniel Bellinger and Devin Duvernay. Like, what is your problem, dude? Like that was like, what the? And then he sent me another one this week. He sent me like another, and all I did was I sent him this SGPN Dynasty chart and said, explain this to me. Like, sell me this pen. Because it was just an embarrassing offer. Then he threw the other one out the other day. I'll look it up just so everyone can understand how ridiculous this dude is. But we digress. We got number 1, Mark Andrews. Number 2, Kyle Pitts. Number 3, Travis Kelce. Number 4, TJ Hawkinson. Number 5, George Kittle. Number 6 is Dallas Goedert. And part of that is because Justin Bruni absolutely hates this guy.
Yeah.
So everybody at Bruni, he is our editor-in-chief. But he hates Dallas Goedert. I don't know if he doesn't like Dallas, but he plays for Philly. He doesn't like either. I don't know, but I got him at 8. So, people might think I hate him. You got him at 6.
You got him at 4.
Oh yeah. I'm looking at the wrong. Adam also dislikes him. I got him at 4. Adam's got him at 8. His rankings are much older. Bruni's are from August.
Yeah.
So,
I see that.
Don't at Bruni, or still at Bruni.
Tell him to fix his rankings.
And then, fix your rankings. And then Emerson at 4. So he's 4 on mine, and he's 5 on yours. We both like Dallas Goedert. Tell me why.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got locked up. He got that contract in the offseason. Philadelphia is playing excellent, and he's creeped up my rankings. He crept up a little bit after he got that signing in the offseason, but I still had him a little bit lower because of the unknown of Jalen Hurts at the beginning of the offseason. We said, oh, does he take that next step as a passer, or do they kind of look to move on? Does Nick Sirianni say, you know what, we want a new quarterback? And that looks to be completely a foregone conclusion. Look, this guy is the quarterback for that team moving forward. They're going to figure it out. Dallas Goedert signed up. A.J. Brown signed up. Devonta Smith on that rookie deal still. It looks like he's going to be one of the top options there. And, outside of the injury that he just dealt with that landed him on the IR, he was playing extremely well in an offense that really isn't passing the ball all that much. But the volume is only going to those three guys. It's going to Goddard, Devonta Smith, and A.J. Brown. Every once in a while, a throw goes Quez Watkins' way, but that's about it. They're not using anybody other than those three really in the passing game, even the running back position. So I like the situation is solid. The coaching staff is good. The offensive philosophy is set, and he's locked in that contract. So that's why I've got him at number 6 right now.
And so the trade that was offered to me, first he sent this trade and then he redacted it. Dalton Schultz, Quez Watkins, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and a 24 first for Olave and Kittle. And so he thought that was too good. So he revoked it. And so he took away Nick Westbrook-Akine because that was too much. And so it's Dalton Schultz and a 24 first for Kittle. I can kind of see that.
Okay. Yeah.
Jahan Dotson and Quez Watkins for Chris Olave. Get out of here. Get out of here. I was like I was like, this is a really bad offer. You continuously do this. Last year you threw me, you tried to offer me thirds for Justin Fields. Like, do you need help? That was my response. If you need help, my DMs are always open.
Do you need help?
Yeah, come on, man.
The Schultz in a first. I think the Schultz in a first for Kittle.
It's a combined offer.
That might. Oh, okay. All right. So you were breaking the offer up into chunks to kind of.
Yeah, Schultz, Dotson, Quez Watkins, 24 first for Kittle and Olave. I have Kittle and Olave, and I still have Olave and Kittle.
There's a lot of people that love Dalton Schultz.
I like him. I like Dalton Schultz, but I love Chris Olave, and I think that offer is just trash.
Yep.
And I told him to go enjoy his pancakes. So, number 7, Dalton Schultz, who I like. He's number 8 on my list. He's number 9 on yours. I'm the Dalton Schultz guy. You're only one behind me, but yeah, he might be one of those catch and fall down guys. He's not going to get you a whole bunch of yards after the catch like a George Kittle. But this guy scores touchdowns. He's sure-handed. He catches the ball. And he's on an offense that throws the ball a lot. He's a free agent next year. I think Dallas re-signs him. He is very good on the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott likes him. And if you look at Dak Prescott's numbers and the Cowboys winning, it works. Why would they let him walk away and try to figure it out with Peyton Hendershot or some of these other guys?
Yep.
It's going to cost them, but I don't think Dalton Schultz is going to cost them what the Raiders paid for Darren Waller or anything like that. It's going to be, it'll be a little bit cheaper of a deal, and they already tagged him. We'll see if they can get a deal worked out. But I like Dalton Schultz, and I'm narrowly still in the playoffs for Scott Fishbowl. That Travis Etienne injury. I had 2 guys go down yesterday, so I'm narrowly still in it.
Do you know what the cutoff is? I haven't looked today yet.
13. Oh, as far as the points, it's 256.
256.
It's combined your score this week and your average.
I had I'm in then. Yeah, because I scored like 1-6. Okay, yes, sweet. I haven't looked yet. That's why I asked. Sorry.
Yeah, no, this was my worst week of like the last 10 weeks, and
you made it through the week. That's all that matters.
I think so. I off till tonight. But Dalton Schultz was one of my, was my, I think my 4th round pick. And that was a pretty bad pick for a while, but it's been working out. Schultz looks really good. He's been one of the only consistent tight ends. And, he's a trade target because a lot of people don't know what's going to happen next year. He's not going to cost you all these guys we talked about already. He's not going to cost you as much as them.
Yeah. That's the biggest concern for me too, though, right? If you go back, how I kind of equate his play is to Austin Hooper. So if you think about Austin Hooper in Atlanta, he had 2 top 5 tight end seasons, which is really what you're looking at for Dalton Schultz right now. You're looking at him being, a top 6, top 7 tight end 2 years in a row. If he does not go to a team that utilizes him exactly how he's being utilized in Dallas and he gets the volume, he is going to be a complete disappointment. And I keep going back, and I've been going back to the Austin Hooper correlation over the course of this year, because that is the only reason he's at number 9 for me. Is I just don't know if they're going to pay him or not. I think they should. I think it's the best place for him, and I think he continues to be a hell of a tight end from a fantasy and a real football perspective if he's in Dallas. If not, he's going to get that tight end deal, and there's a chance that he doesn't get the volume, and he's just not going to be the same player if he only gets 4 targets a game. It's just not going to work that way. So there is a little bit of worry for me.
We got some breaking news. Darnell Mooney is out for the season with an ankle injury. Very unfortunate for the Bears. It is N'Keal Harry's time to shine. It's rough out there on the streets of Chicago. Hopefully they go and get a receiver for Justin Fields next year. But
you think they hold Justin Fields out the rest of the year?
It's very likely. I think they're going to be, very cautious with him. Yeah. There's no reason for them to win games, and there's no reason for them to go and put him in harm's way if he is their guy. So I have Justin Fields on my draft night out team, and I'm gonna hold him, but I'm pretty sure he's done for the year, and I'm glad I picked up Mike White. So the next guy on the list is Pat Freiermuth. He's number 8 for the ECR, 8 for you, and 9 for me. So Pat Freiermuth, you have him a little higher than I do. You have above Schultz. Why so?
Yeah, I'm by the end of the season, he may start to creep up a little bit because he is continuously getting the targets. He's really one of Kenny Pickett's favorite targets right now in Pittsburgh. And I just don't see that changing in the offseason any, right? They got Deontay Johnson locked up. They brought in George Pickens, who's seeing a ton of targets. They've got Najee Harris. I think they're going to address the offensive line, if anything. And then maybe they add a little bit of wide receiver depth, but nobody that's going to take targets away from Pat. And he's an all-around tight end. He's another one of those guys who's on the field most plays. He's a great blocking tight end. He's good catching the ball. He's good yards after the catch. He's not like Travis Kelce yards after the catch, but he's also not Dalton Schultz. He's somewhere in between. And I love the skill set all around. And I think there's a world where he starts to creep up the rankings even more in the long term.
Yeah, and there's you said Dalton, and so it reminded me there's a couple college tight ends. Go check them out. It's gonna be a fun draft this year. Yep. But Dalton Kincaid, I finally got to see him from Utah. Check it out. This dude's a baller. But Pat Freiermuth, coming out, he was really overshadowed by Kyle Pitts. And last year, Kyle Pitts had the yards. Pat Freiermuth had the touchdowns. Combined their seasons, it was amazing. And, Freiermuth did, unfortunately, suffer some injuries. And he's also been injured this year. And so the injuries are a concern. He's been boomer bust, which is hard to say for a tight end because all of them, except for Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, are pretty much boomer bust. But he's definitely someone that, when I look at, like I said, looking at trade value, when you put the name out there, people are going to go after him. And I definitely like Pat Freiermuth. and I like his fit in that offense, especially with Chase Claypool gone. Last year, Big Ben had a lot of targets go to Najee Harris, and not as many went to Freiermuth. And I'm hoping that him and Kenny Pickett start building a connection because you're not seeing as many targets to the running back. Normally, that goes to the tight ends, but Pickett's just been tossing it deep. I do expect them to reel that back a little bit and see Freiermuth more involved. Plus, Freiermuth's been out a little bit, so him and Pickett haven't had the time to build that connection. But yeah, I like Freiermuth. He's number 8. Number 9, that's Darren Waller. And this is a very interesting one because I can see someone seeing this and being like, man, that is way too low. And I could also see someone seeing this and being like, yeah, man, somebody else can go and deal with that. So you have him the lowest, 15?
13.
13.
And that's actually not even right. That's why I hit refresh because I printed my rankings out to have them in front of me here while we were talking. I actually have him at 16 right now, not 13.
I think this is filtered on standard and not PPR on the page.
That's what your message was about. I saw it come across the screen there.
There you go.
Let's get to PPR and see what happens.
And so with Darren Waller, there was a lot of hype this year. Then
Still doing it.
He was injured. Then he signed the new contract extension. And a lot of people, memes were going crazy. Gifts were going crazy. They thought, okay, this guy is going to go out there now that he signed that new contract and go crazy. And then you hear the Packers try to trade for him. Then during the deadline, the Packers try to trade for him again. Then you're like, didn't you just do a trade? Why didn't you just send him over in the Devontae Adams deal? Like, what's going on? But apparently the Raiders like him, and a lot of people were envisioning Josh McDaniel, Aaron Hernandez, Gronkowski, all these. It's just been he's one of the worst picks of the year.
Yep.
Him and Kyle Pitts are tied for the worst tight end picks because they were pretty much the same value in redraft, and they've done squat.
Yeah.
So, anything I missed on Waller?
No. The injury's not helping him being on IR. You hope that he comes back from that, but he's in between Kelce and Kittle. He's already 30 years old. So there's some serious concerns there. He was always a volume tight end to begin with. And now that volume is all going to Devontae Adams, like all of it.
Yeah, so. and Waller was a late breakout. We all know his story, and it's a great story. And off the field, there's no guy that's easier to cheers for. But on the field, he has had some of those lower body injuries and things like that. And with Waller, like you said, he's been a volume guy. He never was a high TD guy, and he wasn't necessarily a yards after the catch guy. Like he was just like busting through the seam, getting 30-yard chunks all. And now they changed the offense, and now they brought in Devontae Adams, and it's not even working. And I thought, oh man, Hunter Renfro's out. Waller's going to eat.
Yep.
It didn't happen, but I didn't have Waller on any of my teams. I wanted to avoid it. I just thought he was getting drafted way too high, and I'm glad I did.
Yep.
Cole Kmet. And so Cole Kmet, I was shocked when I saw your ranking.
I have him at 11. That's
okay.
Again, I'm not sure why it's doing that. I've got it in front of me. He is at 11 right now.
That's all right. I think I know what's going on, but with that,
I did try to change it up here, but
no. It's with Cole Kmet. You've always been a big supporter of Cole Kmet, and you've been higher than me.
I have. Yeah.
So to see me having him above you is just shocking. And so again, I'm really going with trade value, and I got him at 7 because, and this was before the Justin Fields injury, but I do feel like you could get more for Cole Kmet than you could for Darren Waller, and you could for Dalton Schultz and Pat Freiermuth at the time. Now, I can see where I might drop him down a little bit, but it's Dynasty. Like you're not going to see huge swings in values over a couple weeks. Yep. And there are plenty of believers in Kmet, and they saw it with Justin Fields, and they like it. And that, going back to the Kittle thing, who's his quarterback next year?
Yep.
You said
Maybe.
Jimmy G's, but your first point was Jimmy G's loves him.
Yep.
And we don't know who Kittle's quarterback is next year. We're pretty sure.
Fine, I'll drop Kittle. Jeez.
We're pretty sure that Justin Fields is going to be Cole Kmet's quarterback next year. And so I got him. I probably got to move him down to 8 or 9, but I still have him pretty high. Number 10 overall in our rankings. And, I got him at 7 and you got him at 11. So 9, 10, right in the middle. David Njoku. Of course you got David Njoku at 7. And of course I got him at 13. So Njoku came in with a big touchdown yesterday. You got him at 7. Is this all about Deshaun Watson?
No, the one-handed touchdown catch to tie the game is the reason he's at 7 now. That was disgusting. It was might be one of the best catches of the year, second to George Pickens, most likely up against Cleveland, actually, earlier in the year. But look, he's locked in. They re-signed him to a pretty sizable tight end deal. They got Deshaun Watson coming in. The offense is starting to, the passing game in particular for the Cleveland Browns is really starting to click with Kevin Stefanski. Now, I don't expect the rest of this year to be great. Don't get me wrong. I expect there to be a dip in production. Look, the simple fact of the matter, Deshaun Watson hasn't played football in almost 2 years, right? There's going to be some bumps in the road. I don't think they're going to come out and be this high-flying, top-5 passing offense all of a sudden when he comes in. It's going to be rough. But I think it is pretty evident that Kevin Stefanski's offense and the way that Alex Van Pelt is calling plays as well is going to target the tight end in high-value situations. And the talent is there. The talent has always been there. He was a first-round draft pick out of Miami when they took him. He is ultra athletic. I love seeing his little hurdle like he did was it last week, 2 weeks ago, maybe? And then the catch this week just solidified the talent for me. So I think number 7 is a solid ranking. It's not too high. You could have him lower if you wanted to, because there is a world where you say he's not the top 2 option in that offense, but I do think ultimately he's going to end up being.
Yeah, and I got him at 13. I mean, we'll see. We haven't necessarily seen a lot with Deshaun Watson with tight ends. You could see the touchdowns go up, but for me, like, he's not ever been a guy that's catching, 80 balls for 1,000 yards. And so when you're relying on tight ends, there's a lot of volatility. And again, I'm just going back to trade value. I don't think he's as high as some of these other guys that are on the list. And most of that is due to the just inconsistencies that we've had with him. Dawson Knox is number 12. And so I have him at 17. You have him at 14. Everyone else is higher on Dawson Knox.
Yeah, I have him at 17 now.
Yeah, so we're in lockstep with Dawson Knox. It's just, he's on a great offense.
Touchdown or bust.
And he's a best ball guy, but that's all he is for me. And I don't think it's going to get any better any sooner. Could get worse if they sign Odell Beckham. So Zach Ertz, I got him at 19. You got him at 12. I'm assuming you might have dropped him.
15 is where he's at now.
So here's an interesting scenario. I listened to Dynasty Nerds, and they talked about, if you're a contender, would you go to the team that has Zach Ertz and just throw like a late third just to see if you can get Zach Ertz on your team? He's 32 going on 33. He's, he just tore his ACL. He's probably not going to be ready to go at the beginning of the season next year. Probably mid-season next year, he'll probably be back to full form. He might be able to start the season, but, it's still going to be some recovery time. What are your thoughts?
No, not doing it.
Yeah, and so that right there is why I have him at 19. And so I don't think I could get, and it's almost like everything you said earlier, Zach Ertz is the example we were fishing for.
We should have come up with, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I see that. So Mike Gesicki is interesting. I got him at 14, and consensus is 14. You got him at 15. I mean, with Gesicki, you're looking at a free agent next year. I thought they were featuring him earlier to trade him, but he's another one of those guys where I'm like, you franchise tag this guy, paying him $10 million, and he got 0 targets yesterday.
Yep.
Like, man, that must be nice, like to just not have to work and get paid. But he could be an interesting guy next year if he goes to the right situation. There's not a lot of free agent tight ends. Dalton Schultz is one of them. Then you got Gesicki's another one, and Evan Ingram's another. And if you were to put Gesicki in one of those other situations, what about putting him over there in Jacksonville? What about putting him over there? The New York Giants have been discussed as a possible landing spot. They need a playmaker. There's a lot of things you could do. And you just got to put them in the right situation. Yep. I wrote the free agent tight ends, and I said, what about putting him behind Kelce and having him sit for a year and then just rolling it back for the next 6 or 7 years?
That'd be pretty sick. I don't know that Kansas City does something like that, but that's the type of situation he needs. He has the athletic ability to be the guy, right? But he's not going to be the guy with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle there. They never had an opportunity for him to be the guy. They never featured him that way in any of the offenses, whether it was when Brian Flores was there, the more defensive-minded head coach, or even now with McDaniels.
Yeah,
McDaniels. So he's got to go somewhere where he's basically the only show in town. New York is a good one, right? You said that. There's Wan'Dale coming off that ACL. He's not even going to be ready at the start of the season, right? He could be the alpha option there outside of Saquon, who I think they re-signed there in that situation. And that's going to be a Brian Daboll system that I think could be pretty useful for him. So he's got to go somewhere that's going to be, good for him. And I've got him low because we haven't really seen him do it for more than a game here or a game there.
Now, I did my research this summer, and one thing that I noticed was 1,000 air yards and 100 targets. That was the golden ticket to being a top 6 tight end. And everyone that got 100 targets got into the top 12 tight ends. There was, I think, 8 or 9 guys. The other guys got just crazy amount of touchdowns. And with, he is the type of a guy that could go and have, just like we talked about, have those big, chunk plays and, the Darren Waller kind of a guy. But he's also a touchdown machine. When they go to him in the red zone, he scores.
Yep.
And so, be very interesting to see where he could go next year. Trey McBride and Greg Dulcich are 15 and 16. And those guys are obviously more projection. But again, I got Dulcich at 10. I know it's coming off. He had a touchdown called back yesterday. Yeah. But if he scores that touchdown, he might go higher on my list because people are willing to trade for him.
Yep.
And they like him a lot. And I think right now the only issue is Russell Wilson's going to weigh down his dynasty value for a little bit. And Trey McBride, he benefits from the Zach Ertz injury. He hasn't done much because Marquise Brown came back. DeAndre Hopkins is back. And, they haven't needed him. But I do think he's someone that you, as, you're a contender, you have somebody else like, one of these older tight ends. Like if you have George Kittle, he's a perfect guy to stash behind George Kittle for a couple of years.
Yep.
Or, while figuring out what's going on with Dalton Schultz, just ride it out. But I do think, he's somebody that has a good projection moving forward. And some of these other guys, the reason he's up there, because you're probably thinking wow, that's pretty high. I have him at 10. Are you really going to get a whole lot of trade value for Gerald Everett or Tyler Higbee? Or even if you're the buyer, do you really want to take a shot on those guys? Trey McBride and Dulcich have the ceiling you're looking for versus, Gesicki or Higbee or Hunter Henry.
Yep. Yeah, and I actually got McBride at 14 Your buy window hasn't closed, but it's definitely not as cheap as it was when Zach Ertz was healthy. And I know you're like, well, no shit, that makes sense. But that, that's when you buy those guys. You buy them before they get their opportunity because you're going to get them at a fraction of the cost. So going out and trying to get him now is going to cost you quite a bit more than what it would have 2 weeks ago. And he was the most athletic, the most touted tight end coming out of the draft. He was the first tight end off the board, and he's just that guy. And I think there's opportunity for him in the future when they do decide to move on from DeAndre Hopkins. There's a chance that he ends up being the second option behind Hollywood Brown in that offense, and I think that could be a very valuable piece to your team.
Well, everybody, we're going to go over the running backs next episode. We're going to talk about the free agent running backs. We saw Josh Jacobs go off yesterday. Tony Pollard's been hot, and then we saw Tony Pollard go right back into the back seat with Ezekiel Elliott there. We have the Jamal Williams versus DeAndre Swift conversation. There's a lot to talk about with the free agents, and we want to give it a full episode, and we want to go enjoy the game tonight. So appreciate everybody hanging out. Brett, is there any more tight ends you wanted to throw a shout out to? Or are we good?
No, I think I'm good, man. I think I'm good.
Yeah, if you got a good tight end, then stick with them because
you're set. Yeah, don't change it.
They're hard to find. So good luck, everybody. Good luck
actually, one guy. Don't forget about Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst is going to be a free agent next season. He's looked absolutely excellent and has filled that role in Cincinnati perfectly. I think there's a world that guy gets re-signed and stays in Cincinnati and just continues to produce top 10 tight end numbers. He's consistent. He's not winning you a week, but he's also he's got a very solid floor right now, and I think that is very valuable with the tight end landscape right now. So don't forget about Hayden Hurst.
I'll throw two out there. Daniel Bellinger. Daniel Bellinger was starting to gain some steam, and then he had that injury. He should be coming back
thing, right? Didn't he?
Yeah, somebody went to like punch the ball out or like poke the ball out, and they just like hit him in the eye, and so they broke his eye socket, and he had to have surgery, and he can't play ball. And then the other guy lost the train of thought for a second. Tyler Conklin, and so we saw Tyler Conklin as a top 5 tight end with Joe Flacco. Zach Wilson nuked his value. And then yesterday we saw he was heavily involved. He looked very good. And I know we saw Elijah Moore catch a touchdown pass and everybody was excited. He only had 2 catches yesterday. Corey Davis was not involved. The top 2 guys were Garrett Wilson.
And 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. And Tyler Conklin. And so Tyler Conklin's someone that is very interesting. They paid him. He is their number 1 tight end, and that offense looks much better now that it's got. And we're still trying to figure out a nickname and going back and forth with Troy on Twitter. We talked about, Killer Mike. We talked about, he said Killer White because I said Mr. White as in Walter White.
Yeah.
Somebody called him the White Knight, and then Front Yard Fantasy said Magic Mike. And then I saw one of his teammates said he's Mike Mother Effin White. So we'll see. Fantasy footballers will probably come up with something totally different and it'll pop on, but
it'll stick. Yeah.
Those are the nicknames. We'll figure it out. But Mike White looked absolutely good yesterday. And not only the comparison to Zach Wilson, because Zach Wilson's that bad, but he looked good.
Yep. That he did.
All right. Well, hey, good luck the rest of this week. Good luck this season.
All right. Cheers.